Hey everyone, it's Mystery Girl with Missy, and I'm Missy. I really hope that you enjoyed the Willowbrook series. I did not know what I was going to stumble across when I was doing that video, which is why we're going into a second series. But before we do, I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers for all of your support. It truly means so much to me. It really, really does. And I want to welcome all of my new followers. Thank you so much for being here and for subscribing. Your support means so much. There is a trigger warning. The following video contains material that may be traumatizing for some audiences. This video is intended for audiences 18 and over. And of course, a fair use disclaimer from me. I'm bringing you a little bit of a different scenery for this video, as it is the cross between the two series, so I figured why not show you something beautiful. Today's video is coming to you from my backyard. So before I get into giving a little bit of background on the second part of this series, which is crazy stuff that I found when doing my research on Willowbrook, I wanted to explain a little bit why I wanted to make the video on Willowbrook. I had worked with medically frail children for almost 10 years, and I will never forget my first day there. They showed us this horrific video of a place that used to treat medically frail children, and it just took me back. I was so blown away and horrified and upset and couldn't believe that human beings could treat children and young adults the way that this video was showing us. And that video was on Willowbrook. The reason that they were showing us that video was because some of the residents, when Willowbrook shut down, were currently with our company. So they wanted us to know what they had actually been through. And it just, I know it's been called out before. I know Willowbrook has been called out before and that videos have been made on it. But Willowbrook actually touched home for me because I literally worked with these residents that once were residents of Willowbrook. And, you know, a lot of them to this day are still very shut down, very jumpy and afraid. And, you know, I guess that's something that they will carry with them forever. So I wanted to make the video on Willowbrook just to bring attention to how some medically frail children had been treated in the past. And where I worked was so full of love. I used to call it my second home, and I kind of still do because I miss them so much. I can't imagine treating one of my residents the way that these residents were treated, and it was very upsetting to me, and I wanted to make those videos for a while, but it took a little bit for me to do. So I started doing this research quite a while ago, and while I was doing it, I uncovered what we're going to see next. So I was kind of blown away, and it actually distracted me from continuing my research on Willowbrook, and I went forward with doing the research on everything else that I found. And so that's why those videos were up first as a coming soon before the Willowbrook was. But I do want to give you a little bit of a background story on where we're going next in this series. So I really appreciate you guys being here through the whole entire Willowbrook series. And I ask you to stick with me because you're not going to want to miss what comes next. So let's get into a little bit of background. You know I have to include the background. This way it makes it where you can understand the situation, especially if you're not from the area. So we are going back to Staten Island, and we are going back to Willowbrook, but we're also going to a couple of different areas. So just a small background. New York's third largest of the 5 boroughs is Staten Island. I grew up knowing it as a garbage dump. Sorry, Staten Island. As it was in New York City's only operating landfill, receiving residential garbage, and everyone talked about the odor. You would drive through and you would have to close your windows on your car. Even though I lived 2 hours away on Long Island, we all knew about the odor. And especially if you were traveling, you closed your windows as soon as you got to that area. So, to be completely honest, I didn't even know that people lived there. I know the institutions were there, but didn't know that there was neighborhoods there. I honestly thought it was acres of land that were either the dump or one of the institutions. Well, doing my research on Willowbrook, I sure learned a lot about Staten Island. A lot more than I thought I would ever learn, to be honest. Staten Island it's shaped like a triangle, and it's 13.9 miles long, 7.3 wide, and 60.9 square miles. Physically, Staten Island is closer to New Jersey than New York. So I want you to remember that. Remember that Staten Island is closer to New Jersey than it is to New York. So that's going to come up a little bit later in the series. So that's why I'm saying kind of remember that. Staten Island had more than its share of institutions. They had the New York Farm Colony as a home that was for the poor and the needy, and it was a place where they could earn their keep. It was located across from Brielle Avenue from Seaview Hospital, which was another one, on the edge of Staten Island and Greenbelt. It was part of the town of Castletown. It was on 96 acres of farm. New York assumed responsibility for it in 1898, and in 1915 it merged with Seaview Hospital. The farm colony closed in 1975, with 25 acres becoming New York City's Department of Parks and Recreation. The remaining 70 acres were designated as a landmark in 1985. Many buildings remain standing at the colony, but have fallen into disrepair and subject to vandalism, much like the buildings in my Pilgrim State video. If you haven't watched my Pilgrim State video, go back to the playlist. It's not a video you want to miss. I really got into a lot of detail on that one. Then the second one was Seaview Hospital. That is a children's hospital, and it was for the mentally ill. A place for tuberculosis patients as well, and it's the largest and most costly municipal facility in the United States. Seaview Hospital is a historic hospital in Willowbrook on Staten Island, New York. After being shuttered, the complex was listed as a National Historic District, and it's right near Willowbrook State School. After sitting empty for many years, portions of the complex have reopened as part of the Seaview Hospital Rehabilitation Center and a nursing home, as well as an independent living facility, and the first long-term brain injury rehabilitation center in downstate New York. Seaview was developed next to the Staten Island Farm Colony, and 37 buildings were planned and developed between 1905 and 1938 on the total of the 98 acres. And Seaview, just like Willowbrook, had underground tunnels, and so did Pilgrim State. These underground tunnels were used to transfer patients, sometimes if they needed to go to a different building, but back then, a lot of times they used them to transfer unruly patients, which is horrible. Seaview Hospital was built at the top of a former 25-acre hilltop estate of Charles Schmidt, which was known as Ocean View. And the third one, of course, is Willowbrook State School, which was a state-supported institution for children with intellectual disabilities. And it was open from 1947 to 1987. The school was designed for 4,000, but by 1965 had a population of 6,000. The school closed in 1988. Now, the acres and acres of crumbling buildings on that land, just like Pilgrim State, the buildings are just falling apart. Now, what I uncovered in the series of stories to follow in this video, if you didn't see my videos on Willowbrook, please go back. The videos are linked in the description below, so make sure you check them out. Seaview Hospital and the Farm Colony, the first buildings of Staten Island from the colony, opened in 1909. By 1915, the Farm Colony merged with Seaview Hospital. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for joining me for a little bit of the background on Staten Island. Like I said, there's stuff I didn't know, and as a Long Islander, I'm so embarrassed to even say that. I had no clue that there were neighborhoods there. I just knew, okay, we're coming up to Staten Island, close the windows on the car, so I never realized that there was more than the state garbage dump there. So that's kind of embarrassing, but that's why I love doing research. I learned so much. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a different video as the cross between the two series. I didn't want to, just make them all pictures and little video clips. I just wanted to bring you guys some beauty in so much darkness. So that's why I wanted to do this. Speaking of darkness, before we get into the next series, I do want to put a different caution out there. These videos are very sensitive, the ones that are coming up. And I just want to advise that children are not in the room for a lot of the series. I'm not showing much gruesomeness or anything like that, but the content definitely is not intended for children. So I just want to put that out there. And I want to thank you guys again for your patience while I made these videos. I'm sorry it took me a while, but the research was definitely worth putting the time into. And I really hope that you enjoyed the Willowbrook series, and I really, really hope that you enjoy the second part of the series. And we do have a very special ending. We have a very special guest for the very last video, and I really hope that you guys will enjoy that. So again, before we say goodbye, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to my followers. Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, the like button, and the notification bell so you don't miss any part of the series. This way, YouTube will remind you that it's coming up. And as always, not only do I thank you, but I just want to remind you that every single day, doesn't matter when it is, what hour, whatever, every single day is a mystery. I'll see you guys on the next series.